Hey everyone, my name is Lavonne and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I already showed you my favorite position that I use with my patients who have an epidural, but what about my favorite position that you can use in your pregnancy, if you have some pubic symphysis pain, but really once you're in early labor, into active labor, as you're trying to engage the baby for a faster, easier, potentially less painful labor. So my favorite position is actually very similar to the position that I showed you in part 1, or the one with an epidural. So that with an epidural is really just a restful position. You can do it without an epidural, but the goal in general for early labor before you get an epidural, if you know you want one, or at least if you're planning on going without, then at least when you can, is to be upright and active. Everything you read related to birth really talks about how gravity is one of your best tools for helping bring this baby down. And so of course, my favorite position is gonna be one using gravity to your advantage. So if you can get out of bed, my tip for you, if you have an induction, and I use this almost with every single patient, so this is like my secret sauce here, is you have an induction, maybe they give you Cervidil, Cytotec. If you don't know what any of that is, I talk about it in my bundle birth class. They give you your Cervidil, Cytotec, you feel nothing, rest. Do not get up and wear yourself out when you're feeling like you don't really feel anything going on in your uterus. But once you start to feel crampy to the point where you can't rest anymore, it's time to get up, it's time to get out of bed, it's time to use motion and lotion, motion is lotion, to lubricate everything, help bring the baby down and out. Now, here's the other side tip. When you don't have an epidural, your instinct is your biggest superpower. And so what instinct really means is that like if you have a sensation where you're like, I gotta like lift my leg up and I gotta like rock and sway this direction, and like something's going on where that feels really good. And in fact, right now that actually does feel really good. My inner thighs at Pilates yesterday were worked to death. And so I feel really good doing this. At some point in your labor, you're like, oh, that feels horrible, right? Then bring your leg down and listen to what feels right. It feels like a lot of times that in labor, I see people that are like, it feels worse, therefore I should do it because more pain equals more progress at your cervix, when that's not actually the truth. When it comes to coping with labor, in early labor particularly, but even into active labor transition, your sensations are there to help you, not hinder you, okay? And so we're listening to the body. If this doesn't feel good, then please don't do it, okay? And so when I am talking about somebody in early labor, or when you can and you will be upright, get out of bed, any kind of standing, swaying motion, figure 8, sit on a ball, use gravity to your advantage, is always gonna be one of my favorite positions. But if you want to use physiology to your advantage, and what that means is that when we have our pelvis, we know that the pelvis is naturally kind of angled forward. So I showed this in the other video, but I didn't grab a baby, so let me grab a baby. So if our pelvis is angled forward a little bit, when the baby starts to come down, even if it's perfectly positioned, it's gonna knock on this pubic bone right out here. So if you feel on your pelvis, and you feel like right above your vagina crack, there's a firm surface, okay? If you go above that, you are pressing kind of on your bladder. So if you have to pee, you can kind of feel it like, oh, okay. And then you hit this like bony structure, okay? That's called your pubic symphysis, that's right here. And so if our body is angled a little bit forward like this, and that's like a little bit of an exaggeration, but you get the idea, that it's kind of angled forward as baby's coming down. First of all, it can't get into the pelvis quite as well or as easy, and you may feel a lot of pubic pain. And so, again, secret sauce, all we're gonna do is spread our legs a little bit wide, and then I'm gonna kind of bend my knees a little bit. You can try this with me, and I'm gonna scoop my pelvis forward. What this does is, and you actually see it with the pelvis with me, okay? So if the baby is here and it's knocking on the pelvis, all right? And then all of a sudden, and it's angled forward, banging on that pubic bone, and you scoop your pelvis forward, all of a sudden the baby can just bloop down into the pelvis. And that's why I love these positions so much. If you know how the body works, which that is my expertise, then you can work with it, not against it. And so my favorite position is really a standing hip tuck, okay? In some cases, this could technically, it relates to an abdominal lift and tuck. The lift portion is really like if I had a belly here, I would just like hold on to my lower abdomen and then I'd tuck my pelvis forward and then kind of lift my belly. You might be doing this naturally already. And so it might like feel good for you to just tuck and then lift your belly up because it just feels heavy, especially the more close to your due date that you are, okay? So, but really all we're doing here is we're starting like this so that like you're standing normal, you bend your knee a little and then just a little tuck. Now, what you're doing is you're holding this through a contraction. You can do this in pregnancy, especially if you're having pubic pain, but it really is the most effective when you have the pressure of the contractions pushing the baby down into your pelvis. If you don't have the pressure of that, it's not likely gonna be as effective. And so contraction comes, you're gonna bend and scoop, maybe lift your belly a little bit and you're just gonna hold. You can rock and sway, you can hold still. Ideally, any kind of motion is lotion. We wanna rock and roll that baby out of you. And so we're rocking and swaying, kind of pinching your booty cheeks to hold yourself in place while relaxing the pelvic floor, blowing and breathing. Do a little back massage if you have a doula or a partner. And then when the contraction's over, you can go back to normal. Now, I have a table here because I love, if you are in the hospital, you can also do this. Bring up the hospital bed so that it's high enough. This one obviously doesn't move that much, but it's higher than say a chair or even a bed. You can bring this up pretty high. Throw one of the pillows down and then between contractions, you can lean over, you can rock and sway, and then especially that forward leaning motion kind of helps rotate the baby down and out. Feels really good. Stretch out your hamstrings, kind of do some of these, stretch everything out. Any kind of tension that you feel in your body, we want to release, we want to soften. Motion is lotion. We want to lubricate, create space. If your hamstrings are tight, it is part of your fascia, and that fascia is connected everywhere in the body. You can watch my fascia videos for that, okay? And so we want to rock and sway, and then when that contraction comes, we're going back up here, tucking, holding, maybe holding our belly, waiting for the contraction. You're here for about 30 minutes to an hour, but as long as you can tolerate. If it's 3 contractions, great. I usually tell my patients if it's like, okay, things are starting to pick up, maybe they're starting to think about an epidural, I'm like, let's get out of bed, let's use gravity while we have it. And then we'll tuck and I'll say, let's do 10 contractions. So we'll count 10 contractions. It gives you like a little thing to do, some sort of like stopping point where I'm like, I only have to do 10. How many more was that? That was 4. You have 4 left, right? And then we're here, and when they're done, they're done. The work happened. You used gravity and anatomy to help your baby down and out. If you love this video, make sure you share it with a friend, and then let me know in the comment box whether or not you did something like this, or if you tried it. Maybe sometimes you have like, oh my gosh, my pubic bone all of a sudden feels like $1,000,000. You can let us know in the comments down below, share and look at each other's stories, connect down there. I look at every single comment. Make sure you give it a like if you like it, of course, and then make sure you subscribe so that you never miss a future video. If you want more from me, you can head to the description box, and that has all of my online classes. They are the thing that's going to help carry you to that finish line. My goal for you is to have the happiest, most positive birth experience of your life, and I want to be able to walk alongside of you as much as you would allow me to, at bare minimum. Thank you for watching, thank you for caring, thank you for trying some of these things. And then, until next time, don't forget to flex and flow, and I will see you soon. Bye. I'm gonna tighten up my body. If you love this video, please share it with a friend. Share it on your mommy groups, maybe you have Facebook groups or on Instagram. Okay, wrap people in. Okay, wrap people in. What in the world?